opinions you're about to hear on this show are strictly those of the panel.
The following program is rated TV MA-LSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Team Shit Show 2.0. And tonight with me, co-hosting is just Ted. So welcome, Ted. How are you tonight?
I'm great. Good to be here.
Good. I'm glad. Are you excited about getting to vote? Or have you already voted early?
I have not, but probably sometime the next couple days because we're supposed to vote early.
Yeah, I did. I already voted. I voted yesterday. And it was packed. I was really surprised when I pulled up how many cars were there. But it's pretty rural, so a lot of people have to drive quite a ways, to get there and get in line. But it went really smooth. I felt very confident that everybody there, and I recognized a few people from the early voting, but I was real impressed. I thought they did really good. And I think our numbers are going to be really good. But, in the state that I'm in, I already pretty much know which direction it's going to go. So you're not that confident, though, are you, in your state, in Ohio?
Well, I'm rural here, too, but there's a lot of weird stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
So getting out and voting early, I think, is important. But there's some weird stuff that's popped up in the last couple weeks. And I mean, Ohio's always been red. It's still red. It'll probably be red, but it's a weird climate out there for sure.
I just want to say hello to Jerry. Hello, Jerry. Thank you for stopping in. And thank you, Six Nations, for coming by. Hi, Jackie. Thank you for stopping in, helping out a little bit. She's one of my wrenches. But and then a few people over on X and on Instagram, but they're separate, so I can't read anything or say anything to them unless I go to that app. It says I haven't got it fixed where you can use them all on the same chat or anything. I wish they would figure out how to do that. If you could come up with that idea, you'd be rich. You could figure out how to integrate all the chat into one. Make it really good. But today I wanted to start out with something I thought would be give everybody a good little chuckle. So I'm going to present a cute little video because I like to have something fun. So let me see if this is it. Oh, darn it. Not very good at this. Oh, here it is. Yeah, this was adorable when I saw it. I thought, oh, I gotta do it. I gotta turn the music on. To give everybody a good laugh to start out the evening. So here we go. This is Halloween's coming up. Aren't you cute? I used to have Shih Tzus like that.
Oh my gosh.
Get it. Pretty girls walk like this. Pretty girls walk like this.
Aren't they cute?
It's unbelievable.
It's so cute.
Oh.
We can't even stand it.
Oh, that's scary. If you saw that running towards you, you'd have a heart attack.
Yeah. Look at him. That's so funny.
I just thought it was cute. I just thought it would give everybody a really good little laugh because with so much crap going on today, it's sad, with so much that's going on. It's so stressy, it's stressful. I mean, you can't even get up and just relax. As soon as you turn on the news or you get on any social media, you're like bombarded with all this crap that's going on. This person's point of view, that one's point of view, and if you're like me, a conservative, you're all of a sudden you're a Nazi and you want everybody to die and all this shit. I don't know where that comes from, but apparently, because I didn't want to wear a mask, I wanted to kill people. It's like if if you have problems and you have to wear a mask to cover your mouth and your nose from breathing in something, what about your eyes? You know, there's little blood vessels all over your eyeballs. You know, so whatever flying through the air is going to go in your eyes and you're going to get it. So if you're not wearing a full body cover or whatever, then quit griping at me thinking I'm going to make you sick, because I'm not.
And
I had COVID.
And think about what passed for a mask back then. You know, a piece of cloth. You could put a bandana around your mouth, and all the studies that showed how much comes out around a mask. And I mean, just
but
as long
even
as your mouth was covered.
Even the fabric on a mask, it says right on the box, I have allergies. Okay, so when I mow and stuff, I should wear it, but I also wear goggles to keep the debris from getting in my eyes, and then I take a shower to wash it all off. But even on the box, it says does not stop viruses. It says it on there. Unless you're wearing surgical grade stuff, just a mask from Walmart does not stop a virus. This stops more viruses, keeps people from being sick. Wasn't it Madame Curie that got people to start washing their hands and stuff before surgeries, and people started going, wow, they're getting well, you know?
Yeah.
Because people didn't realize, because people didn't take baths. People didn't take baths and use soap and all that stuff. Today, people are, you know, cleaner, so you have less stuff being spread. That's why in other countries that are not as developed as us, they seem to get sick, you know, and it spreads like wildfire because it gets in their water, because they drink the water that they take their cows and the horses and all the other animals in, stuff like that. It's sanitation is what makes you have a better chance of surviving something. It's if you're clean, you know, when I went up to the door of the grocery store and I saw them making people use, you know, handy wipes and the sanitizers, I was like, this is great. You know, they're wiping off the carts. Because of me, I'd be going shopping and I grab a cart and some other lady had some kind of lotion on her hand. Next thing you know, my fingers are itchy, you know, so I have to carry my own wipes and my own sanitizer before even COVID came around. I just did that because I don't know what other people are wearing. And I want to live, you know, I'm allergic to so much stuff and I get shots, but I want to live a life. You know, I can't just stay in my house and be afraid that I'm going to get itchy or get, you know, some welts or maybe have cardiac arrest because I've been, you know, I'm exposed to something that can kill me, but I got an EpiPen for that, you know. But the thing is, that made me feel so good. But all this craziness afterward, that was just nuts, you know, because to me that was ridiculous. You know, people just, I don't know, getting mad because you're not wearing a mask or thinking that you're going to kill them because you're not wearing a mask. I'm like, you got the shot, right? And they say, yeah. And I go, then what are you afraid of? If it's going to keep you from getting sick, you should be making me sick. Right. Guess what? Hey, I had my blood tested and I never had it.
I mean, it's so over the top. I mean, there's nothing wrong with wiping down your shopping carts from the last person that was pushing it, because they could have had a cold, been sneezing and coughing or whatever, but making everybody walk down the same aisle in the same direction of the grocery stores and all that weirdness, and the face masks that weren't certified in any manner or any way. I mean, there was some good, but mostly bad that came out of all that stuff. Yeah,
you just never know. But there's another, I wanted to give an update on the, I think it's, I don't know which one it is. Hold on. I wanted to give an update on some information that came out about the hurricanes. So I'm trying to find that real quick. Just give me 1 second. Maybe this one's it. No, so hold on. I gotta copy and paste it again because for some reason I can't find it. Take me a second. I gotta paste it up here because it's really good. I think very, very important that we hear this. So let me pause it. All right. So now I can go there and open it. Pretty sure this is it now. Yeah. All right. Now, I don't know if you guys saw this or not. This is Governor Roy Cooper of North Carolina. just confirmed that certain areas won't be rebuilt, and they're buying out entire communities affected by climate change. It says, we've spent a lot of time on the way we approach rebuilding in some areas. You shouldn't build back. So build back better, I guess, doesn't count anymore under the Biden administration.
Right.
And we've been able to conceive or convince certain communities and people that buyouts are better. Because I remember there was a bunch of rumors going around about some kind of mine that was wanting to be lithium mine or something that
Right.
Kamala Harris's husband was involved in, maybe trying to open to make billions and billions of dollars. And I guarantee that the people that they're going to buy their property out probably get pennies on the dollar, if you ask me. But I wanted to play this video so you guys can hear it. So let me get it bigger, and it's turned up. Here we go.
You know, North Carolina had 2 500-year storms within 20 months of each other in the same place. Mm-hmm. We just had a 1,000-year storm event in southeastern North Carolina, 1,000-year. We know that that's not true anymore. We know that these events are going to become more and more intense. So we've spent a lot of time being smart about the way we approach rebuilding.
Okay, before he goes on with that, I don't know if any of you guys understand that the mountains that had the mudslides and stuff, a lot of that was because the dam was about to overflow. Remember that? They came out and said everybody needs to get out of there because the dam's going to break, or the dam could break. And then they redacted that and said, no, we changed our mind. We don't think it's going to break. So the water just went over it. Caused all the mudslides and shit. That wasn't from storm damage. You know, it wasn't from all the rain that they'd had. That was because of a dam. Okay, you see what I mean? Now, I'm not saying it was the same for all the different places, because there's different places where injured, or people were injured because of flooding. Okay, New Orleans flooded too, and everything is, you pretty much got to gut anything, especially if it's damaged with moisture, because it's just going to, mold just grows like wildfire, and you can't, you got to clear it out. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I just wanted to say that, but this is funny, the way he does this shit. Oh, this makes me want to barf. Sorry.
We go into communities, we work with them, we have plans for local governments. You know, in some areas, you just shouldn't build back. Mm-hmm. And we've been able to convince certain communities and people that buyouts are better, and you create green space that soaks up flood water, comes and protects surrounding areas. When you do build back, you have to invest.
Okay, did you hear what he said? He said that you can reinvest and build places that reabsorb the moisture. Well, when you're on a mountainside, where is it going to be suck into the ground? It's not going to just sit there. It goes downhill. Water runs downhill.
Another key phrase he used, Janet, was green spaces.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
It's like, well, let's just turn this town into a green space.
Yeah, they've done that with like Wyoming. 47% of Wyoming, I think it's Wyoming, is owned by the government.
More in order for property to be more resilient. But when it is elevated, we even saw in some of the storms subsequent that those properties were unaffected because we had made them more resilient. So those are the challenges that we're facing every day. And it's one of the reasons why we've been able to get a number of Republican local officials, particularly on the coast, who said, okay, guys, climate change is here. We know that we have to do something about it. We know that the United States is the leader in the world, needs to set an example. North Carolina needs to set an example. And so we've gotten a number of them on board. There's still a lot of climate denialists out there. Sure, you know.
That is funny. Climate change has been around since the beginning of time. The climate has always changed, and we've had ice ages, and then it's got hot, then it has freezing again. I mean, dug down into the core of the Antarctica and pulled it up, and you can see layer after layer after layer, volcano action. I mean, tons of stuff. Climate change has been going on since the beginning of the planet.
But our money is going to help solve that problem.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah,
taxpayer
but what about all
dollars.
the money? But they don't have enough money to help these people, okay, that were all displaced, but they sent, millions and millions,
$750.
Yeah, but
Don't forget
they
that
spent
now.
trillions
They got
of dollars.
$750.
Well, some of them. I think maybe
Some of
100
them.
people so far have gotten it. That's it, because
Yeah.
it's so hard to get it, especially if everything you own is washed down a mountain side. You have no proof of who you are besides whatever was on you at the time, and then you have to go in there and fill out all this paperwork and prove who you are and all that shit. And that's $750 per household.
Yeah.
Okay, and I've been
Imagine
playing
that.
videos on here showing how one guy went in with his mother, and he said, "I need a propane heater for my mom." And they look at her and said, "Do you have power?" And she said, "Yes." They said, "Well, we're only keeping those heaters for people in need." And he goes, "What do you mean? Her house flooded. She has electricity, but it's run out now, but nothing works. Everything was soaked from the water." I mean, that's how dumb some of these people are that are working for whatever group you call it that comes in to supposedly help people. So
It's a shame.
they don't want to help people, and they've got truckloads of stuff to hand out. So if you go to a church or something like that, then you can get it. But the problem at the beginning was mostly because people were stranded up there because there was no roads. Their house might not have been damaged, but they had no way of getting out to get food and water to replenish whatever it is they had in their home. Because I watched bunches of videos showing the mudslides going just past their house or around their house, and they were lucky that they didn't take the foundation. They took their vehicles.
Hey,
and
that's
lots of other
still going
things.
on. I mean, that's
I know.
still a problem, even as we're talking here tonight.
I know it's horrible. I mean, it's really horrible. Some of the things these people are going through still, but I'm thankful that other proud Americans were willing to pull up their sleeves and go there and get as much done as they've been able to. And I've heard some good news from a couple of people on Twitter Spaces saying that they've even have set up places for them to vote. So hopefully they'll vote for someone that will maybe help them if that happens to them again, faster and with better resources, and care about whether or not they can find their loved ones and things like that. So we'll see. Yeah, I just had to give an update. It's not really something I enjoy because I'm not happy with the way a lot of these people have been treated. And I know if it was me, I wouldn't have been happy about the way they're treating these people. So we'll go on to the next thing that I had pulled up. I think it's this one. Let's see. Where is it? Oh, just give me a second. I think it's this one. Yeah. Okay.
To be used.
Pause it. Oh, it started playing way before I got to it. Okay. Make sure it's turned up. Here we go. I thought this was interesting.
Say one other thing. President Harris said today in her post, in her speech, she said that President Trump was going to turn the U.S. military against the American public and use the public to promote his agenda. How many of you think that is true? Well, what's interesting to me is that the Biden-Harris administration has done something 2 weeks ago that has never been done in American history, which is to send exactly lethal force, to send a directive to the Pentagon, changing the law to make it legal for the U.S. military to use lethal force against American citizens on American soil. Technically, now it's legal for the U.S. military under this directive. It will become legal for the U.S. military to shoot and kill Americans who engage in political protest because they disagree with policies in the White House. I'm not making this up. Any of you can look it up. This is a Democratic initiative. This did not come during the Trump administration. This did not come from Donald Trump. It came from the Democratic Party. And that's why I left the Democratic Party.
Yeah, see, that was one of the things I wanted to share. And that's scary. It seems like every time they point the finger at Trump or us, the deplorables, and say, you are a Nazi, you hate blacks, you hate Hispanics, you hate everyone, you don't want women to be able to have reproductive health, stuff like that. They're really talking about themselves, because it seems like everything they say we are doing, they're already doing it.
Yeah.
And how do the people that vote Democrat agree with that? That means that they're saying they're doing it too, basically. Does that make any sense?
I mean,
to you?
When you hear something like that, I mean, that was probably done late at night under the dark of cover with no oversight from anybody, that the military can start to use lethal force against Americans on American soil. I mean, there's a lot going on behind the scenes there to pull something like that off.
Mm-hmm.
And why would any American government ever have to even address something like that? Unless they were expecting some kind of an uprising.
Yeah, but the thing is, look what happened in the Summer of Love. Okay, in all those cities, and guess who was protesting? Who was it? Was it the deplorables?
No.
Mm-mm. It was Black Lives Matter, and it was Antifa, and a few other little groups that were out there protesting, and they were looting and they were burning. And then during this whole administration, a person could go into Walgreens or any other business and steal $900.
Under $950.
Yeah. Rake it off into their bags, put it over their shoulder and say, walk out and do this to the store people and say, F you.
Right.
And you didn't call the cops. And guess who ended up paying for it? You and me, because we had to pay our taxes, and that they would collect it from the people to refill their shelves from their insurance.
Remember, the Obama administration told law enforcement to stand down and to let them, I forget how he worded it at the time.
Yeah.
But to let them vent, or let them work out their
aggression.
Anger, their aggression.
Yeah, let their aggression come out. And don't get in their way, so then no one gets hurt. You just lose products.
Exactly.
So I was saying stuff like this, which I know would probably piss people off, but I would say if I'm standing in line and I got my little basket and I got 4 items in it or whatever, and somebody comes in and shoves me out of the way and starts taking everything off the shelf, perfume, whatever, that they're going to take down the street and get on eBay and sell it themselves. That's what they were doing with it, I'm sure. And then they expect me to stand up there at the register and pay for my shit. I just put the shit down and leave. So I'm not going to purchase items from a store that lets other people walk in and steal when I have to pay for it.
Hey, those were dark times for the country. Mm-hmm. And if
it's
what we
still
anticipate
happening
to happen, if Trump ends up winning, they'll use that as an excuse to revive a lot of that stuff. Mm-hmm. Remember, they had the parts of Seattle and the parts of Portland that the police wouldn't even go into because they shut it down. Now,
we have gangs taking over whole apartment complexes right now. Yeah. What are they doing? Nothing.
Aurora? Yeah.
No, I'm talking about the federal government. The federal government passed this thing saying that they can take a gun out. Like, let's say some people from my little community decide, we saw the cheating. We saw this. We went to the sheriff's department. We told people, we took video. Nobody listened to us. And now this guy is mayor and we know he didn't win. Okay. Because friends of mine work there, whatever the evidence is, instead of listening to what we had or watching the videos that the people had or any of that. They just take a machine gun and
Yeah.
and what you just saw in the other video about North Carolina, them taking their property away and giving them money, telling them not to rebuild. Maybe the land's been there for 5 generations, but instead of letting them rebuild, they just give them some money and say, oh, go down the hill and build a house, whatever. And
so we can make a green space.
yeah, but the thing is what's the difference between that and what they're doing right now? When you can't own anything, you can't have a business, you can't protect your business by standing out front and saying, if you try to steal, I'm going to shoot you. I'm going to shoot you in the foot or something. Do not touch my stuff. Get out. Or whatever. And if you get in front of them and try to stop them and you get hurt, they're going to say, well, you shouldn't have got in front of them. See, anyone who tries to uphold the law is the bad guy. See, that's messed up. That is not a country that's freedom or people who have any rights, civil rights. What about my civil rights? What about the guy who owns a store's civil rights? But they don't care about them. They just care about the guys coming in and stealing. They have more rights than anyone else because pretty much they can do
100% correct.
And then you have illegals coming over the border and they kill and maim people. And then they just put them back out on the street again to kill and maim more people that are real citizens that were born and raised here. So this administration's already showing us over and over again, they don't care about me or you. They care about those people for some reason that haven't put in one day of taxes into the system, but they're taking billions of dollars out and they're spending money to Ukraine by the trillions. And we can't even take care of our people that were injured and hurt through storms by no fault of their own. Okay. And they lose everything. But our government says, oh, well, we need that money for Ukraine. Instead
wait a minute.
Stuff like that.
Wait a minute. You're forgetting that some of them got $750.
Well, I heard it was like a few hundred. That's it.
Yeah, just
everybody else got turned away because they didn't have the right paperwork. They couldn't get online and fill out the paperwork properly or whatever. It's all bullshit.
It's not by accident. I mean, you don't let 20 million immigrants or illegals come into the country and put them up in hotels. I'm in Ohio.
Yeah.
Springfield's close, and all those Springfield stories that are kind of fuzzy in the news or whatever. It's not good. I mean, it's not a good thing. It's not. They might not be killing all the dogs and cats in the neighborhoods, maybe a few and some Jeeps, but it's still, there's hotels full of Haitian. I don't know if they're illegal or not because things were done by the government to bring them in. The people running across the border are illegals.
Mm-hmm.
But when a plane load of Haitians comes from Haiti and lands in Columbus, Ohio, and sets them up in hotels in Springfield and tells them, hey, this is your new home.
On your dollar, though. None of them are paying for a dime.
Absolutely.
And that's what Trump said. Remember when Trump was president, he said, I'm going to stop all federal aid because if your country is going to send all your criminals and you're insane and everything over my border, why should I spend millions of dollars back to your country in aid when you're sending us all your aid?
Hey, he had it dialed in. He had the Mexican military at the border said, hey, don't let anybody through or we're not going to give any more money.
Yeah, that's right. So you turn off the spigot, they'll clean up their shit. Okay.
Exactly. And it worked.
That's common sense.
Fantastically.
But see, these people right now want to be able to bring in all these people, flood them in. And what's sad is they come over the border, they put them on a bus, they take them to a plane, airport, put them on a plane and send them to your town. And then send them to my town and their town and their town, not to their town. You see what I mean? They're sending them everywhere but where they are living because they don't have to worry about it. See? It's not their street. It's not their kid. But yeah, here's the next thing I wanted to bring up I thought was really good. We had to pause it. I don't know why all of them started playing. I wasn't ready for that. But yeah, here's another one that I wanted to play pertaining to similar things like what I played a few seconds ago. So let's see.
And I saw his security, and they have greatly beefed it up. But when I left, my security, I think, is some of the best in the world. I have my two head guys were the domestic protection, head of the domestic protection, and then the other was the foreign protection of, let's just say, a name you know, and one of the top 5 richest people in the world. They both work for me. And when they left that event and seeing Secret Service and then seeing the airport and everything else, the head of my security said, I have a very bad feeling, Glenn. And I said, what do you mean? And he's never said anything like this before. I have a very bad feeling. I'm not sure he's going to make it to January 20th. And he was specifically worried about Donald Trump's airplane being shot out of the sky. Mm-hmm. But he, as he has said, could happen a million ways. You have the leaders of this country juicing people up. You have AI and algorithms that can so easily find. If I could say to Google today, find people in this state that are disturbed, don't like Trump already, maybe a little schizophrenic and likes guns. I could have that within a minute, the name. Now, take these 5 names and coax them into, without anybody knowing, ephemeral coaxing, so there's no record of it, and coax them into thinking they have to shoot the president of the United States. That's all real. What is Kamala Harris doing? What aren't they willing to do for power? When you see people hungry for power, that they will do that, God help us. God help us. Don't give them more power.
Glenn, we are out of time. I agree with you. I think they're going to try to kill Trump again before Election Day. This surge is out of control right now, as with early voting. The vibes are gone and the joy is gone. And you are right. This is a point that our mutual friend Dennis Prager has made for as long as I've been following him. If you believe somebody is Hitler, what wouldn't you do? What it is a dog whistle to every single sleeper cell and every crazy person out there.
100%.
Frantic person that might have a firearm. It's okay now to go after Donald Trump.
And
these are desperate people. These are the worst of society. Yes, 20 seconds, Glenn.
Yeah, this is what propaganda wars is really about. They've pushed mental illness onto this country. So many people are still wearing masks. They have taken maybe even a third of the country and just locked them into crazy town.
We must pray that Donald Trump survives what's coming next.
Yeah, that's scary. But I've been saying that all for a long time. When you tell people every single day that people like you and me are the enemy, because you go to church, or because you have a specific set of rules where you believe that you should follow the law, you shouldn't speed, you should wear your seatbelt, all that stuff's common sense too, though. If I don't wear my seatbelt and somebody rear ends me, I'm gonna go through my windshield. We've learned this through the years, why seatbelts are important, why keeping your tires inflated helps with saving on fuel, all these different things. And we try to do all this stuff because we're not frivolous with our money. When you get a paycheck, you don't just say, oh, well, let's go buy some kegs of beer. You pay your bills. You pay your rent, you do all the things you're supposed to. And then what's left over, you say, hey, let's go have a barbecue, or something. You don't just willy-nilly spend it. But when you have a government that willy-nilly spends money and says, well, we're going to help stop making the frogs gay, or we're going to do this, or we're going to do that with it. We're going to build a bridge to nowhere, or we're going to make a turtle tunnel. And the turtle's supposed to know, wow, you swim over there and don't cross over the road because you're going to get run over. It's stupid shit that they're spending our money on. But yet we have no say in that, because when we work, the FICA comes out. Okay, whether we say, well, we should go to this, and that, I wish it was a little checkbox who say, I want some of my money to go to the veterans. I want some of my money to go to the schools, some of my money to go to the road. I wish you could do that. because I guarantee all the frivolous, stupid shit that they keep putting in these omnibus bills wouldn't get put in there because no one would say check mark next to the stupid turtle tunnel. You know, dumb shit like that would get chucked. But see, that's why every president that said we need a line item veto, they don't get it, because these people that are spending right now, like they gotta, okay, if it was their wallet and you set it in front of them and you opened it, you think they'd take any of this money out of their wallet and spend it on this shit? No. But see, it's our wallets, yours and mine, my purse and your wallet's wide open, and they're just going to take every dime until there's nothing left. And then they'll take your house and your car, whatever else, until they have everything. And once they have everything, they'll put you on a 15-minute city and you'll do what you're told for your measly scraps. That's what they want. They want to control every aspect of your life from cradle to grave. Do you remember when Sarah Palin said that? She said that's what they wanted to do. Back then, she knew.
Right.
This is where they were pushing you to, because when you're born, they can say, okay, you got to jab them up with this stuff and you got to raise them here. This is the school they're going to go to.
Well, but I think more importantly, from the clip that you just played, the rhetoric from Kamala and whoever else on the left about Trump being Hitler and all this stuff that's recently come out, is they're just kind of prompting and begging some loose-minded individual out there to try to assassinate him again. Because there's been, 2 or 3 attempts already? I mean, somebody's going to say, well, maybe he is Hitler. I believe what they're saying, and I believe this and that. Somebody's got to kill him. I mean, that's a very real possibility, I would think.
But when you have a president that signs or updates the Smith-Mundt Act, it's they modernized it, okay, basically, to where, you know, if I'm on the news and I'm sitting there with my whatever, my coffee mug, whatever, and I say, oh, I met Ted, you know, he sleeps with everyone. He does anything and he'll do this, that, and the other. And then you can get a lawyer that says you're going to sue for slander, right? And then they say, oh, well, I'm really sorry. I should have made sure I had more information. And that's it. That's all they got to do. Now you've lost your job. You've lost your wife. You've lost everything because of their slander. But that's it. That's all that happens to them now. That's what the media is allowed to do. They're allowed to say and do whatever they want to anyone they want, especially if the government tells them this is what we want you to say. That's why when you have the remote and you change all the channels when the news is on, what are they saying? Our democracy, our democracy, our democracy, our democracy. They all say the same exact thing because they're all on repeat. They all have the exact same script.
Well, what about the 51? What about the 51 intelligence officials that agreed that Hunter's laptop was fake Russian disinformation? Where, I mean, do we have 51 prisoners in jail now? No.
See, that's the problem. They can control it. And that isn't freedom. That's communism or socialism, whatever you want to count it. It's
communism.
To keep you from being able to speak out, but they can say whatever they want because they're the elites. Okay, you are a plebe. You know what I mean? They just get rid of you as soon as you retire. As soon as you're not paying taxes anymore, and they got to pay you, you're useless to them now. You see, you're just a drag on society. So we don't need that person. They're not putting in anything anymore. So let's get rid of them. And so when you go to the doctor, it gets harder and harder to get help. You can say, oh, your doctor before said, well, if you get your knee replacement, you should be as fit as a fiddle. So you go in. Now you're retired and they say, well, we're just going to give you these meds because it's so expensive. And now you're old. We don't think it's worth the money that we're going to put into you. See, that's what I'm saying. That's cradle to grave. They take care of you to get you into the system where you're paying taxes. But as soon as you step over the line, what is it, 67? Something like that. They put you on they put you on their Medicaid or whatever it is, their medical setup. Yeah. Okay. And if you can afford it, you can pay for extra stuff with, another insurance company that's willing to, trust that you're not going to take all their money from too many surgeries or whatever. And that's it, and that sucks. You've worked your whole life. Now you want to retire. And if you fall down and you break your leg or something like that, that's when you need care. You took care of yourself so you wouldn't have to be in the hospital all the time, and you be able to keep working and pay your bills and be a good citizen. But now that you are over the age, you no longer work outside your home, you're not worthy anymore. And that's what I'm seeing more and more of. That's why our veterans are just kind of like pushed to the side. They've used them and abused them, and now they discard them. Now they just want a new group of people. As long as they do what they're told and jump when we tell them to jump, we'll be pretty good to them. But then we have this president that we have right now saying when our soldiers aren't making enough money to be able to, they can't live on the base because their rank isn't high enough, and they got a kid and a wife, and they can't make enough money but to live in a 1-bedroom apartment, you know what I mean, type of thing.
Yeah.
And they're eating peanut butter and jelly. And what did our president say? He said, well, we should maybe put you on food stamps, instead of saying, hey, let's give them some more money. They're fighting for our country. Treat our military better. Treat them with respect. But you're willing to let people go and steal $900 off the shelf and take it out and do nothing.
And that's every day. I mean, if you get $900 on Monday, you could go back Tuesday and get another $900.
I know, but
Wednesday,
that's what I'm
another
saying.
$900. Yeah.
They care more about whoever that is destroying other people's rights than giving to somebody that already sacrificed for us. I don't understand how come that makes me the Nazi, because I want to help these people. Why is that bad? How are they able to get people to believe that people like you and me that want to just live our lives and pay our own way in our own home, take care of our own vehicles, pay all our bills, feed our families, do all that, and give money to our church, or give money to, the veterans or whatever else and help them out. But when a veteran goes in to get an exam, whatever, he's on a list for 6 months before he can get glasses or whatever. They treat them like they're the very bottom of society instead of treating them up here where they should be treated. I think if they could change, I hope Trump would do this, or somebody would do this, is to say, okay, all the people in Congress, in the Senate or whatever, this money and the health system that you have, we're going to take that from you. And now you're going to get same thing that our veterans would get. Let's see how they like going to the VA and getting how they get treated. I guarantee you the first thing they do Monday morning when they went back is say, hey, we got to fix this.
Right.
Because they don't want to be treated that way. That's good enough for you, but not for us. See, that's
100%.
how they treat us. And it's bullshit. I get so sick of it because it's not fair. But all they do is say that I'm the Nazi because I want it to be even for everyone. If you put into the system, you deserve something back. If you've never put into the system, why should they pay you? You see, I don't get that.
I mean, it's deeper than votes. I don't think they're bringing all these people in just for votes.
No, I know what they're bringing them in for.
Yeah.
Because when they bus them into all these places and fly them in, the next census comes around, you get a couple more state representatives.
Yeah.
See what I mean? It changes how many congressmen you're going to get and stuff now. So that changes later over time. What happens? You get more votes in the electoral college. And you get them in specific states, right, where you sent all these people.
Well, that's what's going on in Ohio right now. They're trying to reorganize the gerrymandering and redistrict and all that stuff.
Yeah, I wonder who's in charge of all that. Is it GOP?
It's a big deal.
I know, but is it the GOP that's trying to push it? See, it isn't.
No.
That's what I'm saying. That's what the problem is.
Yeah,
it's not fair across the board. It's only fair for a very small select few. And like what we just saw with the video that we just watched with Charlie Kirk, and Glenn Beck when he was talking about the rhetoric. The thing is, just like you said about damaging people, taking the damaged people. Well, when you take a young kid that's 11 or 12 that's told by their counselor at school, well, you like to wear pink and you're a boy, so you must be wanting to be a girl. See?
Yeah.
So pushing that on your small kid, by the time your kid's 17, they've been transitioned into a girl, and now they're starting to have these feelings like, I don't feel like a girl. I feel like I should be a boy, or I don't know what I feel like, because they don't understand what's going on because they've been told so much shit that they're messed up now. And it's take a whole nother so many years with a true psychologist to help them get out of it. And the sad fact is, in the state of California, if you try to stop them from letting them transition, they'll take your kids from you. Your kids won't even be yours. That is not.
Isn't that insane? I mean, that's hard to even believe, but it's true.
I know. And another company, I think it was Phillips 66, that used to make gas, refine oil into gas. They're leaving California. So just like I said, what they're afraid of is that California and New York both are hurting really bad with money because people are leaving them in droves. I mean, business people like you and me that are responsible, that want to pay our bills. We can't afford it. So we say we can't afford it. We have to close shop. I can't afford to get out 15 more loans. I have nothing. I won't have a home. I won't have this or that. So you get up, you pull roots, and you go find another place where the taxes and whatever else, the way that the system is run, you can make a living for your family. That's called common sense. But instead, they just keep stretching the whatever it is that they're doing and seeming to come up with nothing. But California is going to go belly up again, just like what happened under Obama. And he said we had to bail them out. They're too big to fail. And they with Solyndra and a whole bunch of other crappy companies that if it's a good company, people want your products, they'll buy it. Okay. But if they don't want to buy your products, why should I bail you out?
Exactly.
I'm not getting anything out of it. What am I getting? I'm giving you my money, but I'm not getting any product for it. And if I'm willing to pay the bills,
who always bails them out?
It's always a taxpayer.
Always the taxpayers. Yep. Always the taxpayers.
And that's bullshit. But that was the other reason why I want to bring that up. I thought that was really bullshit. But this next one is pretty scary. This leads exactly to what Glenn Beck was talking about. This is scary. Let me see, make sure I pull up the right one. I think it's this one. Oh, God, just give me a second. Here it is. This is it. Okay.
You got it.
Yeah, this is scary, man. Okay,
Oh, wow,
before I do this, it says, on the extremely rare occasion when I see a Harris Waltz sign in a yard, I pass judgment quietly in my mind and go about my day. I will never understand why people react like this to adverse political opinions. Okay, now see, they get mad at me because I think it's fair that everybody should get what they've worked for and get to keep it. Now, and then you have these people that think because you don't think like them that you should be eliminated, basically. But I want you to see this woman's reaction. This is a Ring doorbell. Okay.
Amazing.
Yeah, watch this.
Yeah.
I want to know how you can vote.
We can't answer the door right now, but if you'd like to leave a message, you can do it now.
Shameful.
Are you the one that walks by here and always screaming at people?
No, I haven't walked by recently.
Okay, because a lot of people walk by and scream.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. You are voting for the devil. Don't you know that?
No,
Why are you voting for him?
because I believe he is the moral candidate.
Oh my God. You for that one.
That's
Moral?
exactly right. That's how your side acts.
Oh my God.
That's
He's
how
the
you
most
guys-
immoral person around.
In your opinion, that's
Oh,
okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. Have a nice day. Have a nice day. God bless you.
Jeez.
Wow. Can you imagine?
I can't imagine it. I don't understand. where these people come from and how they get off to think that they can talk to people that way. She went to the door to tell them that they're immoral because they have a Trump sign in their yard. Okay. But what was moral about anything that she said? She didn't even care whether the woman had a small child with her or anything. She could care less about anybody but herself. This is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing mountains and mountains of narcissists coming out. It's my way or the highway. Fuck you all. Fuck everybody. I hate you. I wish you were all dead. That's their attitude. They don't want to have a conversation. They don't want to listen. All they want to do is judge you because you don't think the same way. And this sad fact that tears me up is I want us to go back to what we were under the Trump's first 2 years so bad. But guess what? Even that lady is going to be rewarded. She's going to have more money in her bank account. She's going to have cheaper gas, cheaper food, cheaper everything, and a better life, even though she fucking hates me and you and anyone else because we voted for Trump.
Can you even imagine the mentality behind that?
I can't. It's scary.
You can't. Yeah. I mean, you really can't.
That is really, that was, I saw that and I went, Jesus. I wouldn't even, she was brave. The woman that answered the door was brave to open the door up.
Yeah.
I mean,
she probably knew that. You think she might have known the lady, like it might have been her neighbor. I don't think
she said, "Are you the lady that walks by all the time?"
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
so
you walk by.
She said, "I haven't walked by in a while."
I walked by in a while. I haven't screamed at you since Tuesday. I mean, that's. Yeah, I agree. The lady that opened the door was brave, but she was standing her ground, and she was like, "Well, here's why."
Well, it's her yard. It's her house.
Can you even imagine that? And that looked like, that was a upscale neighborhood.
Yeah, it's a decent neighborhood. Yeah. But now I'd be petrified that someone's going to drive by and shoot through the house, shoot through the windows. Yeah. People were going to burn my house down or throw Molotov cocktails through it. Remember what happened in the LA riots? Remember that?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what trial it was.
That was the Rodney King.
Yeah, Rodney King. That's it.
Rodney King, yeah.
I remember watching on the news and I cried and bawled my eyes out. I was so sad not because of the good people, okay? Normal, everyday people just driving to work or driving home or picking up their kid or whatever, driving down the road. And these mob people were throwing rocks and bashing in their windshields and then pulling them out by their hair and their clothes and then beating them with bricks and shit just because they were white. I remember that. And I was like, I can't believe it. That is terrible. But see, they let this kind of shit happen. They get these people so riled up and they don't have nobody to blame. They can't go to the White House and blame the people that started all the problems. Yeah. You know what I mean? They just take it on the next person that they see. And that's what I don't understand. People don't have any, I don't know, any control over their emotions or something. I don't know what you'd put on that. Like that woman that just did that in that video. And thank God she had a doorbell. And I'm telling people, I've watched a couple videos showing the camera you put on your rearview mirror that faces frontwards.
Yeah.
I saw a couple people doing this scam where they drive along and they wait and then another car comes up beside you a little bit and then the car in the front of you slams on their brakes. You rear end them and then you back up and then they get out and they all go, "Oh my God, you hit me."
Hey, that's supposedly like a really super popular thing in New Orleans.
They do it all over in every big city.
Yeah, in New Orleans especially. I was down there just recently. I was down there a couple months ago, and they're like, "Hey, listen, don't get close to anybody because they'll slam on your brakes and do an insurance scam if you hit them from behind. Because if you hit somebody from behind, it's like it's always your fault."
Yeah, normally, but thank God the people that were able to show this had those cameras in their car and they were able to show, hey, I was going the speed limit. I had plenty of spot. They just slammed the brakes, nothing in front of them, nothing, no obstruction. And I couldn't get to move over because their partners or whatever were in the car next to him to keep him from being able to
Next
get
to
out of
him.
the way.
Yeah.
So it's terrible. I mean, people are just scum. I mean, I don't know what else to say. It's just that you got to be so low to do that kind of crap to people. We were talking about something in a space this morning when I had heard about, because this happened in New Orleans, and this is a big scam. After you have a tornado or a hurricane, and then you have people that put on a shirt with a fake name of something tree roofing service or whatever. They have a magnet on the side of their truck door. They pull up. They have a clipboard, and they go to your door and they say, "Oh, we noticed that you had some shingles missing and maybe a little bit of damage to your siding, and we're here to say, okay, we will do a deal with you today. If you sign up today and give us a deposit, we will come in and put you down. You'll be second on our list, and we'll get the supplies that we need. We'll do an evaluation, and you just put $500 down, and we will take care of you, and you'll be done." And the couples are like, "Oh, okay, great." Give them a check, and you never see them again. So a lot of people were ripped off that way. $500, $1,500, whatever it was. So don't ever give money to somebody that shows at your door for anything. I don't care what they say. Don't buy meat from them. Just don't fall for those scams. There's so many scammers out there. And online, don't give out your personal information to people you don't know, because you don't know who they are. If you don't know them, don't give them your phone number. Don't give them your address. Don't give them your social security number or your credit card numbers or anything like that. Don't do any of that stuff unless you know who they are, period. Don't fall for that. That's just heartbreaking to me. It's the people that get ripped off. Okay, let's go to the next thing. Yeah, it is terrible. I'm sorry, but let's see. I think it's let's see which one. I think it's number 5. Let me see. No, that's not it. Okay, this is what one I wanted to bring up because I thought it was important. A lot of people, oops, keeps going. What happens if a convicted felon like Trump wins the presidency? Okay, because one of the things that I've been thinking about is they moved back Trump's sentencing, remember?
Yeah.
To the 26th of
right.
November. Okay.
Push it to November.
November 26th. Okay. So what if this is the scenario. I've been bringing this up a couple times. Remember, I've said that that Biden wasn't going to be on the ticket, that somehow they're going to get rid of him, and that I didn't think that he would even be president to hand over the stuff to Trump in January, right? And I've said that.
Right.
Okay, so this is the scenario that I think could be possible. I'm not saying I know anything. This is just what I think could happen. Okay, so everything's going the way that Trump wants it to go, and his team that he's choosing with RFK Jr. and all the few other people that are helping him out. But it's not looking good for Kamala. So the Democrats know that she's not going to win. Okay, so they decide to say, okay, Biden, we're going to get rid of him. He's going to step down because he's sick or whatever. He's going to step down as president. Kamala, it becomes president because that's the law. Okay, that's the way it's set up. And then the Speaker of the House will become vice president until they pick a new vice president. Okay, so she's president. She gets in the record books as the first woman president, and she's a Democrat. So they got that win under their belt. But November 26th comes along, and he gets sentenced to prison, even though he shouldn't, because all of that shit's all bullshit, old stuff that you shouldn't go to prison for in the first place, because everybody's right. Executive orders and shit. But this is their way of getting rid of Trump, because they want Trump out. Then the votes come in and we all vote for Trump. We all want him. But she has enough people and rhinos and stuff behind her. She's president. And she don't have to step down. See what I mean? She could deny him handing over the reins because he's a felon. And we need to take it to court to find out through the Supreme Court whether or not he should be president or not, because he's been convicted and put in prison. See what I mean? That's what I'm worried about. This is what I was saying all along. I didn't know how they were going to do it, but that somehow they're going to finagle this, and that's what I think is going to happen. They have to get rid of Biden. He has to step down, because if she's already president and now she's going to be president again, because Trump can't be the winner unless they decide, well, if Trump's in prison, we'll have to give it to his VP and he'll be president, because they were elected. She was never elected. She was just installed.
Right, just installed for sure.
Why the Democrats aren't up in uproar over it, but they didn't see, they took it like, oh well, that's just the way the things work out. They don't give a shit. They want to be controlled. They want their breakfast laid out for them, their clothes laid out for them, their lunch made for them, what bus they're supposed to take. They want all. They don't want to do with it.
Janet, what if they do this? What if they decide that we get into a war somewhere and they halt elections, which they have the option to do too? Yeah. I mean, I've thought about that. Like, or if Biden croaks, if he hasn't already, if he croaks, and then Kamala
or he has a
comes
stroke,
in, and then
this has a
they're
stroke.
like, well, we're going to halt election. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Well, he has a stroke, and then Camilla will be president. See what I mean? Remember that one surgery that Trump had? He had surgery or something. He had a mole removed or something. I don't remember, but he was unconscious.
Right.
Okay, and they had to hand it over to Pence during that time because he was incoherent, wasn't able. So if Biden has a stroke and he's incoherent, that's what they just have to say, and everyone's going to believe it. I mean, after him stepping down because he's so feeble and everything, no one's going to complain. They're going to accept it like, and just drink it up,
sure.
You know, because they're going to suck it up like candy. And that's what I'm afraid of. That's what I think is going to happen. And I don't think it's because Trump's not going to win. Okay. I said 2 years ago that they're going to put Trump in prison. That's all they care about. They do not want him in the White House again. I don't care what they have to do. I didn't realize that they would really go through trying to get rid of him by, using a psycho to, enveloping
staging that with the CIA
getting it all
stuff,
set up. Because all they had to do is just like what Glenn Beck said. You just get a couple nut jobs and say, hey, here's some money. Here's some free money for whatever, program you're in or whatever.
And if they're
because the guy
and he's going to destroy the country and everything.
Yeah, but the guy that shot him, he was in a couple of BlackRock commercials and stuff. So it's just it's too wide, too scary. I mean, it's really scary. And I would never have believed any of this shit. If somebody had told me this, 5 years, 6 years ago, I would have said, oh, that person is crazy, But man, I'm surprised at all this stuff that's just opening up constantly. It's scary. I mean, it really is. But I wanted to show that because this was a real article that I found because I was talking about this today again about if, what happens if Trump's voted in. And I'm telling you right now, it says right here, as it stands, there are 4 scenarios that could play out. Trump could win the election and then be sentenced to prison by Judge Merchant on the 26th. He would win the election but be spared jail at sentencing. He could lose the election and be jailed because they're going to get rid of him. They do not want him. Just like they said, the reason they don't want him is if you go back and you look at his first year first 2 years, I remember seeing record numbers of child trafficking rings being shut down.
Yeah.
Children and women and young men being saved at the border that were being trafficked over to the border. And Trump did that. He stepped up and he got more and more people to start getting these people and stopping them. That was hurting them their money. Because you can sell a kid over and over again. You can't sell drugs but once. See?
Yeah.
Human trafficking is the number one money-making thing for all these bad people in the United States of America, believe it or not. If you went and saw The Sound of Freedom, you'd understand. That's what it's just too lucrative. And as long as there's a bunch of psycho sickos out there that want to have sex with young kids, boys or girls, or with women against their will, that are being trafficked, drugged up, passed out, or whatever. As long as we have all those sickos and we're not punishing those people that are purchasing the kids or purchasing, buying all these
Well,
people.
think of how lucrative that has to be.
It's
Yeah,
it's in trillions of dollars probably
trillions of
worldwide.
dollars. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of money, and it's sad because, like right now, there's like 300,000 something kids missing that came over the border that
Is
they
that
know
really
of.
that number? I've seen that before, and I'm like, good Lord, hopefully that's not true.
No,
I mean,
it's
can that
true.
be true?
Yeah, I went to a space this morning, and there's a friend of mine. I won't say her name right now because I don't know if she wants it, but she was in the space, and it's from a group called the Shepherd's Watch, and that's what they do. That's all they do. They work with trying to save kids that are being trafficked and women. Human trafficking. They try to save people.
300,000
They
kids?
just they can't. They don't know where
That's
they're
hard to
at.
even
Not just
fathom. You can't get your
kids,
brain around that.
teenagers and down. Okay, that came unaccompanied over the border. Because remember, what was his name? Dr. Phil. He did a couple shows about this, and we've had it on the Chit Show or Friday Night Chit Show. And he was talking about when Trump was in office, when somebody would come over and say a coyote's coming over the border, and he has 7 kids with him. Okay. And he said, they're all related to me. So what would they do? They did a rapid DNA test, and they said, those kids are not yours. And they wouldn't let them have them. They'd take them, and then they try to find out where their parents were and send them back or whatever. That's what they were doing. Well, guess what? When this new administration went in, they stopped doing it because Dr. Phil was talking about it. They don't do that anymore. They don't do any rapid DNA. So you got kids coming with people, 20 kids, and they're putting them on a plane and flying them somewhere. Who knows who's getting them? I know it's unbelievable, but it's sad and heartbreaking. But that's another reason why they don't want Trump. Okay. Yeah. Look at this P. Diddy stuff. And I'm so worried. All this stuff is just coming to head. More and more people are coming out. And I know they have the evidence because Homeland Security, not FBI, Homeland Security went to Diddy's house in California and in Florida at the same time and raided. Took all the videos, everything they could get their hands on, apparently, and bottles of baby oil or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
All that stuff.
But all that video they have, now they have all these people coming forward. So if they just have to look and see which video they're on, then they got evidence and their story put together. Diddy's going to be wishing he had left the country. And all these new names are coming out. They're saying that J-Lo and her husband, whatever his name is, ZZ or something.
Hearing about the names, but did it all involve kids?
No, not all of them. But it doesn't matter. If you go to a P. Diddy party, I've seen some videos and I've played them on his own phone that he did, and he's recording. He's got the phone laughing, and he had this white guy passed out on a couch in the middle of the day, and he said, this is what happens if you're white and you come to a P. Diddy party. Okay, because they were saying they're spiking drinks. They put drugs in your drink. Then they take them supposedly, I have to say it's alleged, they take them in another room and they do stuff to them while they're asleep. Then they use it to blackmail them. He's a DJ, so now he'll DJ at whatever club he's told to and play a person's songs that he wants to make sure they get promoted up higher and higher because now he's compromised.
Isn't that crazy?
It is, and it's sad. But what I'm worried about is if this administration gets away with whatever it is they got planned, because I'm telling you, they got something planned. I don't know what it is. It's going to be bad. I don't know if it's going to be multiple things, one after another, where power grids are going down, more bridges are collapsing, trains are derailing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I really
Boats
don't know.
Running into bridges.
But then all this Diddy stuff is just going to disappear. There's not going to be any evidence. Oh, we don't have anything. We don't know what you're talking about because
like Epstein.
Look at the courts. I mean, look at the courts. And see, Trump's already said that if he gets in there, he's had 2 young girls that were Epstein abused girls say they're going to vote for Trump, and that he's told them that he's going to release the lists.
Yeah.
So I hope he gets in there and can do it, whatever it takes. And the team he's pulling together with Elon Musk and with Robert.
We just got to hope they don't kill him.
I know. That's what I'm saying. It's scary. It's really scary because there's so many ways to get rid of them. You know, this is what scares me. This is one thing I brought up was, what if he's just in a building, okay, with whole bunches of other people, and they just put gas, some kind of cyanide gas in the whole system and kill everyone in the whole building just to get rid of them.
Or you think about Mar-a-Lago.
That's what they'll do.
They could attack Mar-a-Lago like from the ocean.
Yeah, or use drones.
Yeah, or use drones. Exactly.
See, that's what Glenn Beck was saying, is that there's so many ways. I mean, look at the guy went to play golf, and a guy was in a tree waiting for him to go by so he could shoot him, and they didn't have the golf course cleared. You know,
unreal.
It's all of it. This is all the stuff that we're talking about. Honestly, if you were told any of this 5 years ago, you would have said, "You're crazy. There's no way that shit's gonna." That's from a movie. You know what I mean?
you can't for one second believe that it's incompetence, because our Secret Service, our CIA, I mean, has been dialed in on everything from somebody that has their shoes on backwards around a president.
Yep.
Except Kennedy. But I mean, there's no way that you blame it on, well, the roof was sloped and we didn't want our agents to slip and fall. You know, I mean, that's such a ridiculous, and that was she actually said that.
I know. It's scary.
Which was like, well, wait a minute. Well, nobody bought that. So then she had to resign and step aside, whatever. And they're like, well, yeah, we're investigating and it doesn't look good. And there were lots of breaches of incompetence with everything. No, that doesn't happen with the Secret Service.
Mm-hmm. I know, that's what I'm saying. But see, you get somebody in there. If Trump can get in, and he gets somebody like, I'm trying to remember what his name is, Dan Bongino.
Yeah.
Used to be Secret Service himself. Let him get in there with Corey Mills and a few others and restructure all that. I mean, it can be done. Now, a lot of people are going to lose their jobs, but if they're shit and they don't know what they're doing, or they've been, what is that? Is it a DEI hire? Is that what it's called?
The DEI, for sure. The diversity, equity, and inclusion. But I mean, how far do you go? I mean, you got to start at the top and get rid of all those.
That's what I'm talking
down
about.
The second level, and you go down there.
But
and
when
then
Dan
you remember the
Bongino
video of you remember the video of the big girl that couldn't find her holster to put her gun in and all that
she
stuff?
was the one in charge.
I mean, how deep do you go to clean house and get everybody new in there that knows what they're doing?
I don't know, but I trust Dan Bongino more than I trust the people that they have right now.
Yeah, for sure.
And Corey Mills, people like that, Senator Hawley, different people that I've seen over and over again speaking out against some of this stupid shit that's going on, being done with our tax dollars frivolously, because they don't care about us. You know, they don't care about whether, as long as I keep getting up and putting on my pants and going to work and making money and they're getting a part of it, they don't give a shit about me. I went
and saw George W. Bush at a campaign rally in Troy, Ohio, which is close to where I live.
Yeah.
And there were snipers on every rooftop. We had to go through metal detectors to get in at 5 o'clock in the morning. There were armed guards and CIA and Secret Service everywhere. I mean, it was so, you felt completely like, well, there's nothing that could ever even come close to happening to this guy, because half the people here have guns that are protecting him.
Mm-hmm.
That was, what would that have been? 2008, whatever his campaign was. But, and then to think that some dude could be laying on a roof 300 yards away from Trump with a rifle. I mean, just, that's not incompetence, and that's not a mistake.
No, there's no way.
That's not a mistake, and that's not like somebody overlooked something, and
That
it's
was
not like,
that was a group of people all denying anything. They're just staying
Yeah.
out of it, just looking the other way when they walk by. That's what it was.
exactly.
So yeah, we know that. But
Exactly.
this next thing, this was another one. I think you watched it already. You saw this, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It says a whistleblower from the DOJ, FBI, DEA, and Homeland Security exposes shocking roadmap of foreign control over U.S. elections. This is why I wanted to do some of this a little bit about elections, because I want people to really think about why it's so important that you vote early. Okay. And I normally don't say that normally, because I usually work the polls. I vote early because I can't leave the polls to vote. And when I normally get put to work to vote, it's not right in my little, my district or whatever, because it's so little, so that I go to a bigger place and help with a bigger setup. But the thing is, I really feel that they wanted us to go early, as many as we could, because they wanted to try to catch as many irregularities beforehand, so that they could put something on it. You say, hey, see, look at all this is happening just in this place.
Or to know how many fake ballots they had to come up with.
Yeah, but
You know?
but no, I mean, Trump is wanting you to go early, because if
Yeah.
you go early and you vote, okay, you're marked off the list. Okay, you're supposed to be, because I've worked the polls, so that's what you do. You mark that person off because they got one ballot. Okay, they're in the system that we gave them a ballot. So if something happens and they find out that there's cheating going on, because when they counted them up, that all these ballots were fraudulent, or they were swapped votes or whatever, somehow maybe you can be able to get your the people in charge of that district or whatever to cancel all those out, take them out, move them aside, and let every person that's on this list that's already came to vote early come on election day and vote again, because they were screwed out of their vote, basically. See what I mean?
Yeah.
That something like that. Okay, depending on which state you're in, because all the election laws are different. Like the state that I think it's I think it's New Hampshire. I'm not 100%, because it's where Gadsden, a person I follow on X, is from. He says they only have election day voting in his state. There's no early voting. Okay. So that's what I said. And I think it's in Oregon. They have all mail-in ballots. So the states run it their way they see fit, because that's how the people have elected it to be done by their constitutions or whatever. So the states have the right to do that, and the federal government doesn't have the right to come in and change the way they do it, unless they're caught breaking a federal law or something like that. That's the only thing I can think of. But I just think it's really scary, all of this stuff that's coming out. But I want to play this guy talking, so let me start this over again. I want to make sure everybody can hear it.
My name.
Okay, hold on. Let me get it bigger. Okay, you guys ready? Here we go.
Yep.
Is Gary Burnington. I'm a veteran of the United States Air Force and a retired senior operations officer and chief of station of the Central Intelligence Agency. For over 3 decades, I served in the U.S. national security apparatus in various capacities. Shortly after the attacks of 11 September 2001, I entered Afghanistan and commanded CIA paramilitary forces, helping seize the cities of Talokan and the capital of Afghanistan, Kabul. I was the driving force and architect of the Battle of Tora Bora. I held the position as chief of Hezbollah operation in CIA's counterterrorism center for several years, and concluded my service in CIA as a chief of station in Latin America combating narco-terrorists. Approximately 6 years ago, a business associate and I began working together as whistleblowers for the Department of Justice, FBI, DEA, and Homeland Security Investigations, HSI. Our target was the largest and most well-funded transnational criminal organization on the planet, called the Cartel del Sol, Cartel of the Sun. The Cartel del Sol is the Venezuelan government and is led by Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, Diosdado Cabello, Minister of Defense Vladimir Lopez Padrino, President of the National Assembly Jorge Rodriguez, and former Directorate General of Military Counterintelligence Hugo Carbajal, who was detained in Spain several years ago and extradited to New York. He is currently awaiting trial for narco trafficking. Venezuelan President Maduro has a U.S. indictment and bounty of U.S. $15 million for his capture. Diosdado Cabello has U.S. indictment and a $10 million bounty on his head. At least 6 other Venezuelan cabinet members and senior officials are indicted. In the last 20 years, the Cartel del Sol has stolen $1 trillion from Venezuela's national oil company, PDVSA, and embezzled $500 billion from its national treasury. It not only has, but continues to produce and smuggle 25 to 40 metric tons of cocaine every month out of its country into the world. The Cartel del Sol is a $2 trillion transnational criminal organization and the most well-resourced criminal syndicate in history. Through bribery and investment of its funds, it controls 12 countries and world leaders. It has massive investments in the US and European financial markets and institutions. As we conducted investigations against the Cartel del Sol and presented them one after another to the US Department of Justice, we noticed and pursued leads from the cartel's money laundering operations to the world of non-governmental organizations and election companies. After witnessing election irregularities associated with the 2020 U.S. presidential election, we decided to direct time and resources to Cartel del Sol links to U.S. and global election fraud. After an exhaustive 3.5-year investigation, it is indisputable. Smartmatic Election Systems was created at the direction of now deceased Venezuelan dictator Hugo Chavez, and its source code, the basis of its operating system, developed jointly by Venezuela's Consejo Nacional Electoral and Smartmatic, was designed to allow election results to be altered without the knowledge of voters and the public.
Yeah.
Additionally, the Venezuelan CNE holds ownership of Smartmatic's source code. Each time the Venezuelan CNE and Smartmatic update the source code, a copy of it is stored at the vault at the Venezuelan Central Bank. In 2005, a European Union electoral observation mission to Venezuela published a report stating the Venezuelan regime owns Smartmatic source code. The Venezuelan government signed that report as factual. Smartmatic's first election in Venezuela was the 2003 recall election of Hugo Chavez. The CNE director at the time, Jorge Rodriguez, at the direction of the Cuban Directorate General of Intelligence, DGI, hired 3 Venezuelan American computer engineers that were graduates of Simón Bolívar University, a Venezuelan university linked to the U.S. university MIT. They had already registered a software company in Delaware and opened an office for it in Boca Raton. The engineers, Antonio Mujica, Roger Peñate, and Alfredo Anzola, established Smartmatic at the direction of the Venezuelan regime, built the source code, and flew off to Italy to buy lottery machines from Olivetti to serve as election hardware. They succeeded in altering enough votes to ensure Hugo Chavez's victory in the recall election. Secure in power, President Chavez decided to weaponize this capability beyond Venezuela's border. Smartmatic would enter into the U.S. election market in Cook County, Illinois, and the state of New Jersey for Democratic Party primary races in 2006. In 2005, Smartmatic orchestrated the purchase of Sequoia Voting Systems, Inc., a U.S. company. Sequoia was a company that had conducted elections in the U.S. for over 100 years and had a 22% market share of the U.S. electoral market. Approximately 18 months later, the Committee on Foreign Investments in the United States, CFIUS, began investigating the ownership of Smartmatic because of Smartmatic's Venezuelan connection. Smartmatic immediately put its source code in the machines, in the Sequoia machines. Smartmatic tried to conceal its Venezuelan connection by hiring a former U.S. naval officer, Jack Blaine, to set up a holding company, SVS Holding, to place its ownership of Sequoia in stock. In December 2006, Smartmatic entered into an agreement with CFIUS to sell Sequoia in 6 months. Antonio Mujica, one of the 3 original founders, then found a little-known election company in Toronto, Canada, Dominion Election Systems, that had only managed one small local election in Toronto. He arranged for Dominion to purchase Sequoia. Dominion, owned by John Polis, with that purchase of Sequoia, would inherit the licensing agreement for Smartmatic's source code, the source code owned by the Venezuelan regime, i.e. the Cartel del Sol. To be clear, Smartmatic and Dominion would ultimately sign an agreement that provided Dominion with the U.S. market and Smartmatic the international global market. The only 2 exceptions are that Smartmatic does elections in Los Angeles County and Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico was an issue they ultimately settled in court. In Caracas, in a building owned by the CNE, the Consejo Nacional Electoral, more than 100 software engineers, half from the CNE and half from Smartmatic, worked side by side. Their effort for more than a decade was to perfect the techniques of altering elections and defeating audit. In 2018, Smartmatic publicly, and with the approval of the Venezuelan regime, broke with the regime, the Cartel del Sol, because the Venezuelan CNE's theft of an election was so egregious. The techniques of the source code and machine operate and conceal a theft of an election when the spread of the candidates is between up to the 3 to 5 percentage points. As sophisticated as the machine is, it can be defeated with significant turnout against it. The recent 2024 election in Venezuela was also so blatantly stolen, and the machine could not conceal that massive spread either. In its place, a company called XClay took Smartmatic's place as the election provider in Venezuela. Allowing Smartmatic to exit Venezuela in this fictitious manner allowed the regime to retain its power and influence over the global electoral market. Smartmatic built a production facility for electronic voting equipment hardware just outside Beijing, China, and then shipped the hardware to a warehouse in Taiwan. In violation of U.S. law, the hardware was marked as manufactured in Taiwan and shipped to both Smartmatic and Dominion for use in U.S. elections. Dominion Voting Systems manages elections in almost all the swing states in the U.S., which determines who wins the presidency. Mm-hmm. We have evidence and witnesses that can prove the source code operating the election machines of both Smartmatic and Dominion and other election companies are owned by the Venezuelan narco regime. We have evidence and witnesses proving the machines are manufactured in the People's Republic of China. Every citizen needs to be asking, where's the DOJ, FBI, CISA, and where's the CIA? Is anyone in the national security apparatus defending our democracy or enforcing the law?
Good
and
question.
If that isn't enough to convince you there's a major problem, Dominion, an additional step to conceal its manipulation of U.S. elections.
Well, it's a lot of information, you know what I mean, to absorb. So I'm going to share this link in the chat for everyone so that you can listen to it again or share it with others to dive into this and find out what you think about this gentleman and what he wanted to tell everyone about what he thinks is happening. So here we go.
Moved its research and development and servers, which store swing state voting information, to its office in Belgrade, Serbia. In the Belgrade office, Venezuelan, Chinese, and Serbian software engineers maintain system administrator status over swing state elections and alter elections as directed by the Cartel del Sol, the Cuban DGI, and the Chinese CCP. Mm-hmm. The facility and its personnel are protected by Serbia's counterintelligence service. Swing state voter information is saved on Huawei servers in Dominion's Belgrade office. These servers are linked to Huawei servers in Hong Kong, China. For years, the U.S. national security apparatus has identified Huawei and its technology as a threat to U.S. national security. The Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, a component of the United States Department of Homeland Security, is responsible for cybersecurity and infrastructure across all levels of government. CISA has 3,100 employees and a $2.9 billion budget. In 2020, when faced with calls to address election irregularities, CISA did a conference call with Smartmatic and Dominion in order to better able to address the public's concerns and assure everyone that there have been no irregularities. Yes, it's shocking. CISA decided to consult the criminals in order to respond to the American public's outcry. In August 2024, 3 current and former executives of Smartmatic were indicted in Florida in connection with bribery during the 2016 election in the Philippines. Among those arrested executives is Roger Piñate, one of the 3 founders and current president of Smartmatic. Roger Piñate paid $8.5 million in bail. What the public will soon learn is that the bribery paid in the case was not to obtain a contract. The bribery was paid to alter election results. We have the CNE source code, the source code employed by Smartmatic, Dominion, and others. We will surrender it to appropriate authorities. Source code, like DNA, can easily be matched with other systems to prove that they are from the same family. In this particular case, it is a family of altering elections. 2 years ago, we briefed a senior FBI agent in Washington, D.C. That agent, after seeing our 3-hour presentation with corporate ownership documents, engineering specifications, and witness statements, told us to flee Washington, D.C., that the FBI would actively work to destroy our efforts and seek ways to prosecute us in order to stop our investigative efforts. That was a stunning moment, hearing those words from a 20-year veteran of the FBI. 7 months ago, with our attorney, we briefed a U.S. attorney and 2 assistant U.S. attorneys, federal prosecutors from the Department of Justice. The U.S. attorney told us he would forward the information to the Office of Public Integrity at the Department of Justice. That U.S. attorney followed up with us months later to see if the Office of Public Integrity had contacted us. They never did. Smartmatic, Dominion, and their media allies will immediately point to the fact that Fox News settled with Dominion, paying U.S. $787.5 million, and that Newsmax just settled with Smartmatic this past week in a defamation case as evidence of Smartmatic and Dominion innocence. In Fox News against Dominion, we briefed Fox News trial attorneys. Our lawyers were present when we did that. Fox News corporate officers refused to be briefed directly for that case. They wanted plausible deniability. Fox News corporate knew we had significant evidence and, more importantly, witnesses. When all the facts are known, Fox News executives and board will have to explain why they went down on their knees for enemies of the U.S. We briefed Newsmax's corporate attorney as well. Though their settlement with Smartmatic is not public, any settlement with either company and their masters, the Cartel del Sol, the Cuban DGI, the CISA and CCP, makes it more difficult for those of us trying to defend the country and our democracy. I ask everyone to go to the website, stolenelectionsfacts.com. That's stolenelectionsfacts.com. Here you will find articles and original source documents supporting the claim that Smartmatic and Dominion are employing a source code created and owned by the Venezuelan regime with hardware manufactured in China that alters election results. I will follow with other videos and statements to inform and educate others. Best-selling author Ralph Pizzula has written the book Stolen Elections, The Plot to Destroy Democracy. It will be released in late October. Mr. Pizzullo interviewed my whistleblower associate and I, and several of our key witnesses. This is a must-read to understand one of the greatest crimes ever committed against the United States. This is an assault on our democracy. Again, go to the website, stolenelectionsfacts.com. Look at the timeline, the documents, and the original sources that are attached. Thank you for your time. God bless America. We go forward.
Well, oh, what do you think of that?
Hey, I tell you what, I mean, there's a lot of that Dominion stuff and computer machines floating around. It seems ripe, very ripe for shenanigans.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, remember the old days where we had paper ballots and really like around by midnight at the latest, we knew who the president was.
Mm-hmm.
And now we got all this crazy stuff going on with
but
supposedly faster
really,
counting systems.
Yeah, we got a machine, okay, that can count fast. You know, like money. You put a big stack of money in, it goes, and it can tell you exactly how much is what there. Okay,
Yeah.
that quick. And now we have all these machines and all these polling stations, and it's taking longer and longer and longer to count instead of 1, 2, 3, 4 humans counting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you have 50 humans in your little polling station, they're all counting and tallying up the numbers for this person and for that person down ballot, which normally when it's broke down, you have a sheet and then you write, you put in your tallies next to it. And then when you're done, all the tables will hand it over to the official, the person that's coming around, and each table hands over their thing, and then they take it over and they write it into the system or whatever it is to show what our ballots are for our stations. Okay. Even though we have different tables for different districts, you might be in like what normally I get to work at is like a college campus with the gymnasium, something big.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, because they're coming from all of these rural places, and you go to your table, whatever district you're in, whatever it is, N12 or N17, whatever. And if you're in Louisiana, you go to your parish area number, wherever you're supposed to vote. And you could sit and count them that way, 1, 2, like that, or put them in a machine that tallies it all up. So it's funny.
So how does it make sense?
It doesn't make sense. That's what I'm saying. And that's why I kept asking everybody, please sign up to work the polls. If they do it in your state and how they do it, learn it. Because if you're sitting there like I did the day of, I was watching some of these people say, look, this is what they were doing. And I was like, they're cheating. There's no other word for it. I mean, if I hand this ballot to someone, okay, and they take it and it never comes back to me. See what I mean? You take it, you mark it, do whatever, and you take it and you put it in your machine. And then it lays there until the end of the night with all the other ballots on top of it until they're counted. But if you saw me picking their stuff up and doing this, that's illegal because it's not my ballot. This is someone else's ballot. I'm not supposed to write on it at all. Now, we had one time have I ever done this, all the times I've ever been worked the polls. An older woman had a ballot and she came up to me. She said, I wrote in the wrong spot. And we said, okay. I raised my hand and a judge came over, a real judge, because we had quite a few there because it was a huge Coliseum, where we had all these tables and stuff. And she had written on her ballot and he said, okay, so this is your ballot. She said, yes, sir. He goes, you made a mistake and you want a new ballot? She said, yes, sir. So he had her initial the bottom of the ballot and then he wrote his name on it. And then we all 5 of us at the table had to put our initials on this ballot. Then he wrote spoiled on it. He put it in an envelope and they had a red tape they put on it. And then he signed his name over that little tape. So that it was his signature. Then we put that envelope in the bottom of there's a place when you tear your thing. Sometimes there's a number. It's a number you tear off and you stick it into this other thing when you put your ballot into it. So at the end of the night, this little stub that came off of your ballot, okay, when we count them, a person, 2 or 3 people sit there and 1, 2, count out all those torn off things, okay, there should only be the same amount of ballots in the other box as there is those little, right? Now, that night, we'd have 1 more in there than there was supposed to be. Why? Because we had a spoiled ballot. So at the end of the night, we had 1 more torn off, tally from the bottom. And then we'd say, oh, we have 1 left. And they'd say, oh, here's the spoiled ballot. See? And then we'd take that tally and we'd tape it to that spoiled ballot because that's an extra one where it went. That means every single number that we counted should be balanced. You see? Because we passed out that many ballots, that's how many should be. It's impossible.
And that's not rocket science.
No, it's easy. If you're following the law, and every person in there is all doing exactly what they were trained to do in your little area. I don't go and walk over to their table and start messing with their stuff because that's not where I was hired to work. I'm supposed to work at this table with these 4 other people. And these are our jobs. And we do our job and we do it 1, 2, 3 down the line until the ballot comes out. But at the end of the night, if you've given out 300,000 ballots, that's how many votes you should have, right? Not 200,000 more votes than you passed out. It's impossible. That's blatantly cheating. And the only way anyone would understand that is a person who's worked the polls when they're seeing it, going, what the hell are they doing? How are they getting away with this shit? And I saw it in a whole bunch of different places. And I'm like, that would never happen in our state.
So you didn't stay up all night and put cardboard over the windows and tape them shut so nobody could see you?
No, but we have it in our state. We get these 2 people, they're called witnesses that are at the tables, get a carbon sheets, with carbon paper, and it has a white, pink, and yellow 3-ply thing. And you set it down, and each time a person would get a ballot, their driver's license would come out, and we take the name from the driver's license and write it on our sheet. Okay? With their address or whatever. And then we give their driving license back to the person and they would get their ballot and they'd leave. Well, at the end of the night, we tear off the white one and it goes with the ballots, showing that these are the people who signed it. And then the yellow one would go in the other book that's going to go to the county clerk's office because she's going to make sure all the names that are in the big book match the sheets that we have. Then the pink copy, guess what? We taped it in the window. So that people walking by can look and see all the people that voted, and you should be able to find your name on that list. If you went, or your sister or whoever, you should be able to find them on one of them. You'd go to the district, to where you knew that they voted.
So
that's how I don't see how they cheat.
Why can't we do that now?
Because whatever your state is, they do it their ways. You know what I mean?
You got machines, and you punch it in.
No, we had computers. We had a computer, but it didn't take the tally off. All it would do is count how many ballots and how many votes were on there. That's it. We were the ones that made sure whose vote was what. But that way, if our number that we had at our table matches the number that the machine said, then that means everything went great. And when we were done, we had all the numbers added up, and we all were like, "Yay, we're done! Yeah, we went home." But that was just our small corner of the state, So if everyone in all the little polling stations around the United States did it that way, and they all worked together, because we weren't looking about who's this and who's that. We were looking at making sure 1 vote for 1 person. That was it. We focused on that, and we tried to do everything the way we were taught, to make sure that when it went back to the county clerk's office, she could sit there with her secretaries or wherever they do it and put everything in the system.
Yeah.
See, I don't see how you can get away with blatantly taking stacks of ballots and having them in front of you, 1 person writing on every one of them, and then another lady comes and gets them and puts them in a machine. I don't know how they got away with that. To me, that was just blatantly cheating on on record, and they had their faces and everything. And I haven't heard of any of these people getting arrested for ballot fraud or whatever. Because to me, that's just, I don't understand how they got away with it.
I think they're winning lawsuits for defamation.
Well, I know that Rudy Giuliani lost,
Yeah.
okay, but look where he was tried. That's what I'm saying. It's the same place, okay?
Right.
Look what happened to Giuliani. Now, Trump's going to be up there at the end of the month, the end of next month, and a month from now, basically, he is going to be going and being sentenced. Are they going to make him give up Mar-a-Lago and hand it to somebody because whatever? See, I don't know.
They would love to do that.
Yeah, they're going to do as much as they can. They did it to Giuliani.
They want Giuliani to sell his Joe DiMaggio autographed jersey, like watches that other countries gave him after 9/11.
Everything he owns. He's having just like what happened to what's his name, the crazy guy from InfoWars, Alex Jones.
Alex Jones, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They
want to give it to Trump too. They want to make him penniless, even if the Supreme Court ruled you can't do that. They don't care. Look what they're doing to January 6th. They've ruined every one of those people's lives, and not one of them's been convicted of insurrection. Not one person yet. That's what they call it over and over again. There is no proof that it was an insurrection because nobody's been tried for insurrection. Not one person. And they couldn't get Trump for it. Okay, because there was no evidence that anybody committed. I mean, honestly, people could constantly say that we have too many guns in our country, right? And that 360 million people, over half of them have guns, multiple guns probably in their home, right?
Yeah.
But we have all these people supposedly go to Washington, D.C. for an insurrection and nobody takes a gun. Not one gun. The only person that had a gun was the security guards. Okay.
Right.
That's
shot
stupid.
Ashley Babbitt.
I know, but that's ridiculous. There's no way that us gun-loving, Bible-clutching deplorables would go for an insurrection and not take any weapons. Doesn't make any sense.
No sense.
The whole thing was a setup. The whole thing was a setup from day one, from my point of view. That's exactly what all I can see from putting 2 and 2 together makes 4. You know, I don't know. But I got a couple more little things I wanted to share real quick. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I go off on a rant.
It's all right.
Let's see. I think it's this one. Yeah, I think it's this one. Yeah, I think this is the one. Let me just look at it real quick and see. Yeah, here's one. Okay, this is Joe Biden. I want everybody to see this. Oh, God. I don't know how we got where we are today, honestly.
Yes.
I know this sounds bizarre. It sounds like if I said this 5 years ago, you'd lock me up. We got to lock him up. Politically lock him up. Wow. That's what we have to do.
Joining me now, Vivek Ramaswamy, former 2024 GOP presidential candidate. Vivek, he has to be working for Trump at this point, don't you think? I mean, Joe, that was just another gift.
You know, look, I think that deep down inside, he meant lock up Kamala Harris. That's who he's really upset with. He wants to put on a MAGA hat and probably privately vote for Donald Trump. But the reality is, on the other hand, if you take him seriously at his word, it's not surprising that he's saying this. After all, he is, people forget this, nominally the U.S. president right now that oversees a Justice Department that is pursuing multiple criminal prosecutions or has tried to against Donald Trump. So the idea that he would finally say lock him up, after all, that's what the Justice Department that works for Biden has actually been trying to do for the last year and a half. It all kind of makes sense on multiple different levels. It's also why, Laura, I think we may be headed, I'm going to use the L word here, to the possibility of a landslide. I'm not saying it's taken for granted. Complacency is not an option. But I think we could have a unifying landslide that is within reach. And I think that would be really therapeutic for the country. Biden's just making it easier by the day.
Very, very. But see, that's what they want. They raided his house. They've done all these everything, and they have nothing. They have nothing. Okay, they have mountains of evidence against these people, but because of the corrupt law system, the way the lawfare is going out, it's taken forever to get anything through the system. They stole an election, in my point of view, in 2020, and it's now 4 years later, and it's barely even didn't scratch the surface. I mean, that's how slow our judicial system is. And you would honestly think if all the people in Congress, okay, really cared about our government, our freedoms and our rights and the Constitution, you'd think they would have done something to fix any problems. Even if they said there wasn't any fraud, wouldn't you want to go step by step as fast as you can through all these court cases to see if there's any weight to any of it, to make sure it doesn't happen for the next election?
But don't you think that, like, Trump is so clean that he's come through everything that they've tried to throw at him? Because I mean, they've finagled the language of lawsuits and insurrection and all this stuff, and the courts have always been like, well, no, we can't really find it. No. I mean, as hard as they've tried, now it's just resorting to calling him Hitler. I mean, that's all of the lawsuits and all of the convictions of whatever the 34 felonies were and all that crap. I mean, it's still just boiled down to, well, somebody should lock him up, and he's just like Hitler. That's how bad it's got.
What's really sad is when Trump suggested that they take the Roe v. Wade and send it back to the states, okay, which is where it was to begin with. And they took it out of the federal government's hands because it shouldn't be in the federal government. Each of our states has their own constitution. And when our forefathers set up our country, they meant for us to be able to take care of ourselves, to have our own schools, our own churches, pay for our own roads, or build our own homes, farm our land, all these different things. And that the federal government was to protect us from being invaded by either Canada, from the French, or from Europe, or from maybe Mexico, all the different people that could come and try to take us over. They needed the funds to make sure we had a strong army to protect our borders. That's basically what it was. They would have a few meetings here and there, and that was it. And then they went back to their states. Okay.
Exactly.
Now we have a government that never leaves Washington, D.C. They have homes there. They get richer and richer year by year, making their measly 100,000 or whatever they're supposed to get from us. But now they're all multimillionaires. It's like we should try to go back to the style of where you come there. It's a part-time job. You see what I mean?
Yeah, you're a public servant.
Yeah, and the thing is, instead of sending omnibus bills, it should be one bill. Like it's a Child Act bill, and then all it's in it is about the protections of children. That's it. That's what a law should be. When Nancy Pelosi said it herself, we'll have to pass it to see what's in it, because they don't even freaking read anything now. Why should my dollars pay for that shit? I don't want to I don't want to send one more dime to Ukraine. We shouldn't have sent any of that money. We needed that money for our own people, and now our people are going without because we were trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars in debt right now. Who do we owe that money to? What if they come and say, we want our money, and we have to hand over 5 states? Whose states are going to be sacrificed? I guarantee it won't be California or New York.
I know that I'm old enough to remember. You're probably not. But when George W. Bush was in office, we had a government surplus of money, and he mailed everybody a check. So
no, I don't remember anything like that ever happening.
So think of how far we've come just from George W. Bush mailing us checks because the government had a surplus.
Was this the first one or the second one?
The first one.
Okay.
Yeah. No, the second one.
That's what I said.
Bush.
I don't know. Yeah, Bush.
Yeah, it got like in the late
He's the
90s.
one that was in charge at 9/11.
Yes.
Okay. Well,
But
I
before-
remember my mom constantly
Jimmy
saying how much she didn't like Jimmy Carter. And I didn't understand that because my mom, he's just a country boy, right? And she said, no, he's a thief. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she said, well, we spent a shit ton of money of our tax dollars to build the Panama Canal. Okay. And a lot of people died from our country building that. And so I didn't understand any of it because I didn't know anything about it. And then she says, as soon as Jimmy Carter gets in office, he gives it away.
Yeah.
Okay, he just gave it to whoever it was. I guess Panama. He gave it to their government or something.
Right.
And then now we have to pay to use it when we built it. You know, we should have gotten free use of it for the rest of the time it was.
Well,
after
that's
it was
why
built,
Carter has
like
the
that.
reputation he does of what he's
So-
did to our economy back then. But yeah, we had a government surplus with George W. Bush, and now we're, like you just said, what is it, like
Trillions.
$36 trillion in debt?
I mean, it's a lot. And
Yeah,
I don't even know what a trillion is. I mean, honestly, I've never could fathom what $1 trillion is. It was hard enough for me to even think about 1 million, you know?
Well,
And
I've heard
now
that
it's
if you
not.
stacked I could be wrong, but I just heard this analogy before that if you took $1 billion just with a B,
Mm-hmm.
$1 billion $1 bills and stacked them up on top of each other, that it would reach to the moon.
Mm-hmm.
Just 1 billion. So a trillion is 1,000 billion. Like we can't even get our brains around that kind of money.
Mm-mm.
I mean, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I don't understand it. And see, in the state of Arkansas, they passed a balanced budget amendment. So our people have to work with whatever money is available to them, and they can't ask for more money. They
Imagine
can't
that.
spend more than what they have there. Okay, they have to make sure that whatever's being going on has to be done within this amount of money. Okay, and I don't understand why it's so hard for our federal government to do that. I mean, we all have a budget. We should. Okay, because you make this much money and you have this much in bills. And so if your bills keep going up and you're not making it, what happens? They come and take your home. They take your cars. They take all your shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They take everything. You're bankrupt. You know, you're repossessed. And I want us. You and I are going to repossess the federal government. We're going to take all our shit back. That's what we should do.
Don't you think all this money getting sent to Ukraine right now at the end is like a last ditch effort to like throw everything overboard in case Trump gets back in, because they know he's going to win, or they think he's going to win. So now it's like, let's get it to Ukraine.
What
Ukraine.
It seems like to me is, like I said, what I think is going to happen. That scenario that I talked about earlier, and the fact that they are trying to make it so bad, ruin this country and make it so bad, make everybody fighting with each other in the streets, okay? Because the haves and the have-nots and the have-wants, okay, the people that want what you have. I did this one time. I wanted to share this. I have a sister. One of my sisters was very upset about the whole way that they took care of 9/11, how they were giving money, certain amount of money to the smaller people that were the janitors and people like that. They were getting a small amount of money from the government to tide them over until their insurance kicked in and stuff while they were trying to fix it, right? This is like aid, like they should have got for FEMA should have gave to the people in the hurricane. But they did it with 9/11. And then you had the people that were way up higher in the buildings, you know, like I can't remember the name, some big financial companies, okay? These people made lots of money, okay? And they were talking about how much money they were getting. And Dana was like, well, that's not right. Those people way up there are getting that much money, and that waitress is only getting that much money. And I said, well, there's a difference. The people up there, okay, probably had a mansion or a house that they've been paying for, and they need that money to make sure their mansion is still taken care of. And she lives in $1,000 apartment.
Yeah.
Okay. So she's getting allotted what her income was so she could take care of the bills that she had in her life. Those people were not. And believe me, when the insurance pays out, they're going to pay those people a lot more money because they paid in a lot more money than this person down here that's paid in very little, okay, or nothing. Okay. And Dana was like, well, that's not right. So I said, okay, well, tomorrow I'm going to come to your house and I'm going to dig up every other one of your azalea bushes, and I'm going to bring them to my house and I'm going to plant them in my yard because I want them. And she goes, oh, you can't do that. I worked hard to grow those. And I go, oh, really? Your yard's too pretty and mine is ugly. So I'm going to take your plants. And she said, well, that's not fair. And I said, there you go. Taking other stuff and giving it to someone else who didn't earn it is exactly what you're trying to say is unfair for these people because they were getting doled out of different amounts of money. And I said they were trying to be fair to the people to pay their bills and give them what they needed to pay their bills. And if your bills are more expensive, it's because you have more things and a better income than me. So I would get less. See, that's what I was trying to explain to her, but she just could not. It just wouldn't connect.
It didn't click.
No, I don't. It's just sad. Some people just don't get it, but it did afterward, which you understood when I said I was going to come take it. See, it's sad that some people have to have it affect them personally before they understand what the other people are going through. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes much sense, but I just want to say thank you for helping me tonight with the show, and I appreciate everybody that's hung out and listened to us on Instagram and on X and on YouTube. I really appreciate everyone. And I hope that we maybe shared some information with you that you didn't know anything about. And I did share a couple links in the chat on YouTube for sure. And if you can, look it up. Try to find out some more information if you don't understand or you don't believe it or whatever, and see what you get and see what you can find out yourself. If you find anything that's different than me, please DM me on X, and I'll see if I can bring that up and say, hey, one of our viewers found something more interesting and had more details or a different point of view on it or something like that. I would love to play it on the show the next time we do it. But next week, and I want to share this before I leave, next week I'm going to have a Halloween special. So I want to show you this. And if you have anything that you want to add to the show, DM me on Discord or on X, and I will try to put you in the show. So here we go.
Get ready for a spine-chilling Halloween night with me, Janet from Another Planet, and my guests as we share eerie encounters and unsettling tales of ghosts and ghouls and all things that go bump in the night. It's an evening filled with stuff of nightmares. Perfect for All Hallows Eve. Halloween night at 8 Central. See you there.
Next week. Yeah, next week is going to be a Halloween special, and I hope that you can all hang out with us. It's going to be fun because I thought we'd need a break from politics, and we're going to talk about, like alien abductions or something creepy happened to you. Your house was haunted, or you saw a ghost. Yeah, anything. If you saw Bigfoot, anything that you might have, I'd be interested to hear it. And so would everyone else, I'm sure. And if you want to wear a costume and you want to be on camera, that's great, because I'm going to be dressed up. As you saw, I'll be dressed up as my true form, my alien form. And hopefully we'll have a great time. So I want to say thank you again. And I'm going to close with my favorite video, the way I always do. So I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. Good night.
Obama will go down as perhaps the worst president in the history of the United States! ! At real Donald Trump. Well, at real Donald Trump, at least I will go down as a president.
I know people have talked to you about whether or not you want to run. Would you ever?
Never got so bad, I would never want to rule it out totally.
A new world order. These allegations are false. Weapons of mass destruction. The USA Patriot Act.
The blueprint for large corporations. We once were, we are no longer a Christian nation.
Donald Trump confirmed that he is considering a run in 2016.
Do it.
I am officially running for President of the United States.
He will never be President of the United States.
Donald Trump will never be elected President of the United States.
People are watching these results come in.
We are going to make this decision now. Donald Trump will be the 45th President of the United States.
Does it ever seem to you that President Trump has done more than any president in modern history?
And in the 10 years I've been involved in politics, I've never seen an administration hit the ground running like this.
I could spend the rest of the hour laying out the accomplishments under the Trump presidency, despite everything thrown at him.
The market just had its 12th straight record close.
Taking action to save as many kids as they can.
We were energy independent under the Trump administration.
More Americans reported being employed than ever.
Helping those who have served our country in the military to get access to mental health care.
The Great American Outdoors Act is the largest single piece of legislation to support our national parks and public lands.
Created more than 7 million good-paying jobs.
Websites can be held liable in court for having sex trafficking content.
The Abraham Accords, which for any other president would have been multiple peace prizes.
America did not enter into a foreign war.
The employment rate in the U.S. fell to 3.5%.
The First Step Act eases federal sentencing for nonviolent offenders.
Increased funding for historically black colleges and universities.
Allows terminally ill patients easier access to experimental drugs.
Kept the inflation rate low.
Honored with the Bipartisan Justice Award.
Had a massive MS-13 gang problem.
3.9% is the unemployment rate.
Requiring airports to provide lactation rooms for breastfeeding mothers.
Middle class family income increased nearly $6,000.
A dramatic escalation in his crackdown on illegal immigration.
An advocate for educational choice.
Tariffs on Mexico and Canada.
An act preventing animal cruelty and torture.
Taking out Baghdadi, the head of ISIS, Soleimani, the Iranian general.
Save Our Seas Act commitment to environmental issues.
We're saying Merry Christmas again.
Community development in low-income urban and rural communities.
Help us to remember the importance of fighting off tyranny.
Pulling out of UNESCO, the World Health Organization, the Paris Climate Accords, reassessing NATO and the United Nations.
Stood up for Christianity and the Constitution more than any president in American modern history.
We are stopping the attacks on Judeo-Christian values.